Hello and welcome to Isabella J's Garden. Today's video is going to be on transplanting sunflowers. And the first thing that we're going to do, and that we do for everything, is bottom water to avoid any transplant shock. So this one right here is a little underwatered, so we're going to water it and it should come back. And the reason why we water these before we transplant them is so there's no transplant shock, which happens a lot when you transplant. So we're going to provide enough water for the roots so there's no issue. And this is a good practice that we always do. The number of transplant shock issues have gone down dramatically once we started bottom watering right before we transplanted them. While we bottom water them, we're just gonna make sure the soil is ready. We added some worm castings and some compost to this the other day, and now we're just gonna rake it around a little bit and make sure it's not clumped up in any areas, and provide a nice soft bed for it. So now we're gonna space these out. So we're using a 5-gallon bucket because that's about the size of the roots that you're gonna get. It's a little bit wider than that, but when we pulled out last year, they were about this size. So we're gonna use this as a measuring device, and we're gonna separate a few inches in between the buckets to give it a little extra space, and we're gonna measure them out like that. And this is just a way that we're gonna measure without using the measuring tape. So we're planting 2 rows of 3 each. This is the same thing that we did last year with our 6 sunflowers, and it worked out really well. This year we're spacing them out more evenly, which we should have even more success. The roots get pretty big. In order to hold up the heavy weight of the sunflower, we made sure we had enough space in between each one. Now that we spaced them out, we're gonna find the center of the circle, and we're gonna start digging our hole that we're going to plant the sunflower in. So make sure that you're planting directly in the center of the markers that you made to ensure that you have enough space once the roots start growing. You will want to dig a hole about the same size of the pot as the pot that it's planted in. Make sure it's wide enough, as well as make sure it's in the center. So now that we have dug up holes, we're just adding some compost into the holes to add some nutrients to the direct area where we're planting these. You could also add worm castings to this area. And then we're just gonna lightly water it just to make sure there's no dry spots, so we don't plant directly on a dry area. This will also help with transplant shock. We'll then let that soak in right before we transplant our sunflowers. So now that everything is ready, we're gonna grab our sunflowers that are nice and soaked, and to get these out of the pots easily, just pinch the end of it while holding the top and let it slide out into your hand, making sure you don't damage the plant. and we're just going to loosen up the roots on the bottom to make it easier for them to continue to grow down. And when you're ready, just make sure you have enough room and plop them in. Then we're going to use any soil on the ends to make sure we fill it in and make it secure ground, as these are taller, and if they're loose they can get knocked over pretty easily. So now we're gonna plant the rest of these, and after we're done with this, I'll show you exactly how to use a pole to support our sunflowers, making it less likely for them to get blown over by the wind when they're in a younger state. So what we're gonna do right now is we have this pole, and we're gonna put it right next to the sunflower, place it in the ground, make sure it's in securely. And we're using this twist tie that we bought from the dollar store that has a rubber on the outside, and we're gonna wrap it around loosely and secure it to the pole, making sure that it's connected. And what this will do is it won't allow it to fall over. In early stages for sunflowers, they're really delicate, so you need to make sure that you secure them if you have a lot of wind in your area. So now everything is planted, and we're just going to add a little bit of Trifecta Plus fertilizer. You can use any fertilizer you prefer, and we're just going to add a little bit, and then we're just going to water it in. And this will help it through this period of being transplanted, as well as helping it get the nutrients that it needs. You can also use Epsom salts. We're going to lightly rake this in around each plant, and then we're going to lightly water it. And then we're just gonna wait and watch them grow. These will get really big, 8 to 10 feet high. It takes about 100 days, but it's well worth it. And just add fertilizer when needed. We will have a follow-up video when it's time to harvest. Thanks for watching. If you're not subscribed already, and you made it this far in the video, please subscribe, please like, and thanks for watching.